Imagine waking up tomorrow entirely stripped of your internal vocabulary. You have no words for the objects in your room, no way to articulate the time of day, and no concept of the word I. You aren't blind and you aren't deaf. You can still see the morning light, hear the traffic outside, and feel the blankets. Your physical senses are completely intact. The question is, what happens to your mind in that total silence? Does your internal world just go blank? Or can you pull up memories, map out your day, and process complex ideas without a single word to guide you? Investigating how a wordless brain functions reveals the basic operating system of human consciousness. Most of us live with a constant silent monologue running through our heads. When you think, you usually hear yourself narrating your choices, drafting emails, or replaying conversations. Because we experience this running commentary from the moment we wake up, we naturally assume that language is the engine of thought itself. We treat the voice and the idea as the same thing. Scientists use the concept of linguistic relativity to test this. Notice how the single sphere labeled language and thought pulls apart into two distinct nodes. Researchers study this separation to understand if our vocabulary strictly dictates the limits of our reasoning. If thought and language can decouple like this, our internal voice might be a useful tool rather than a biological requirement for existence. Medical science gives us a direct window into this separated state through a condition called aphasia. Often resulting from a brain injury, aphasia can sever a person's ability to speak, write, or process language. But losing language does not mean losing the mind. Many individuals with severe aphasia retain their full capacity to perform multi-step mathematics, recognize familiar faces, and make calculated decisions. They can judge quantities at a glance, or calculate the mechanical leverage needed to move a heavy cabinet. These complex physical problems are solved without any internal narration. Basic logical and spatial processing runs on an independent set of biological hardware. It survives intact even when the language software is deleted. We see this independent hardware operating across the animal kingdom. Look at this crow maneuvering a hook to extract an object from a box. It executes a deliberate, multi-step physical plan without a single word. In humans, there is a naturally occurring baseline for this kind of cognition. It is called an endophasia. People with this condition are born with little to no inner voice. Their minds are quiet. These individuals navigate complex daily routines by relying on visual mental imagery, spatial maps, or an intuitive feeling of knowing what to do next. Wordless thinking is a valid parallel operating system. It is capable of managing a complex life. But this parallel system has a rigid boundary. There is a precise threshold where spatial logic and visual maps reach their limit. Grasping abstract concepts like freedom without words is chaotic. Watch as an idea pushed into the future snaps back. Distant planning is nearly impossible. But when linguistic grammar brackets snap around the nodes, they lock into an organized flowchart, providing scaffolding for complex, multi-step reasoning. Language provides the mental scaffolding required to build and hold on to ideas that do not physically exist in the present room. Despite these limitations, imagine a wordless mind that somehow manages to spark a breakthrough, a world-changing insight reached purely through feelings and spatial intuition. That individual immediately faces the locked room paradox. Without a shared linguistic framework, that brilliant idea is permanently trapped inside a single skull. There is no way to pull it out. You can demonstrate how to open a jar by mimicking the physical motions. You cannot explain why a tribe must migrate across a continent to find a better climate using only gestures. While language might not be required to think, it is the only mechanism that allows an idea to escape the physical boundaries of the human body. When we scale this up to the entire species, we see the accumulation of human science, history, and medicine. Look at this monument building itself upward. This is the compounding growth of shared data. If we lost the ability to encode and transmit that data via words, the monument would collapse. Every single human generation would be forced to start their technological progress from absolute zero. Language shapes our capacity to reason and connects billions of isolated minds across time. It is the foundation of our collective survival. The next time a thought enters your head, take a second to analyze it. Pay close attention to whether it arrives as a word, a brief picture, or just a sudden feeling, you might find that your consciousness works in ways you've never noticed.